Okay, this is Deborah Weaver, and we are now going to spec a ladies' basic blouse. So you want to have everything that you need ready, which includes your spec page, your blouse laid out flat. If you have one of these grid tables, it's great. Otherwise, you just want to make sure that you get your high point shoulder in alignment with the ruler, like this. So this is your high point shoulder point right here, where the collar stand join seam to the shoulder is. So once you have that, and we have our chest, which is the 1 inch below the armhole and across, is laid out flat, then we just want to make sure that we smooth up and down the shoulder forward, which here you can see on this sample is very different compared to at the armhole that it is at the neck. So when we look at our first POM here, you got to read along with what it says as far as the description of where the point of measure is. The first one is the front HPS length. When you go to the front HPS length, you want to put another ruler down here based on where your center front is. So here's where the center front is, because when you're coming down from the high point shoulder, which is right up here, exactly at that join seam, and then you're going to come straight down to that ruler. So in this instance, center front would be 28 and 3/8. So that's 28 and 3/8. The side seam height goes from the underarm seam straight down to the hem edge, and that we have at 17. Then we have the back body length that we can see from here because we can just lift this up. So again, we could flip the garment over, but every time you move the garment you have to reset it. So here we are again at 28 and 3/8. So the back and the front are the same spot. The neck width we'll do when we flip the garment over to do the back. The neck circumference will be when we open up the whole collar. The front and the back neck drop. So the front neck drop, you're going to take your ruler and go across from HPS position there, and then on this side. So there's the two HPS positions, and then you want to come and make sure that your collar stand is straight. You don't want to measure if it's down at an angle like that. It has to be pushed up straight. So there it is, pushed up straight. So now I can come down from my bottom of my ruler's edge right here, down to where I just pushed that straight collar stand up to, which is 2 3/4. So that's the front neck drop, 2 3/4. And then we can take that same ruler reference that's going across from HPS to HPS again here, and peel the collar back and see that the back neck drop on this garment is 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. So the rest of the collar stand information is going to be when we open the collar up. Let's see what else we can do here is number 13, the collar point spread. When you go to do the point spread, you have to make sure that your collar is as it would be when it's placed in its package to be shipped or would be put on the floor. And your spread is right here from the tip to the tip. So in the case of this sample here, it's 3 inches. That's the collar point spread. The across shoulder comes from this shoulder seam right here all the way across to the other side. So we have 16 and 3/8. The shoulder slope is coming from that HPS reference line, and when you have this gridded table, it's easy to see that you have the same on the right and the left side because the grid is in the background showing you. So in that case, you can just take one measure. When you don't have the grid, it's best to take both and make sure that you have a balance between the two. So I can see here, if I have my HPS position back up at the top of that ruler there, let's move this garment down a bit, and then I come down to the point up here, I get 1 3/4. So my shoulder slope is 1 3/4. My shoulder seam forward at the neckline looks like 0 here, and then when we can look here at the shoulder seam, it's 5/8. So there's a shoulder forward at the neck and a shoulder forward at the shoulder seam. When the shoulder forward is one width all the way across, you just do one measure. So the next one we have here is the across chest. In this one, it's 5.5 inches down. So 5.5 inches down is right here. 5.5 inches down, and then across from the armhole seam to the armhole seam. And you just want to make sure that your garment is flat and that all the fabric is flat when you take that measure. And this one's 14 and 3/8. And there's going to be another one at the back we'll do when we flip the garment over. The next one is the bust, which is 1 inch below the armhole seam right there. And then across. And the same thing here, you just want to make sure that your fabric is smoothed out and that you don't have any bumps or bubbles underneath there. So this one's 20 for the bust. And then we have have the waist, which is 16 inches down from the HPS. Here's 16 inches, there's our HPS again. Down 16 inches is right here. And then we're gonna go across and catch all the fabric from edge to edge. So that was 19. And then the sweep we have straight. So there's one measurement where the sweep is straight right here. That's 21 3/8. You can see I pinned this front placket together so that it wouldn't stretch out to where it would get an accurate measure there. On this POM here, we're also going to be doing the sweep along the curve from side seam to side seam. So we're going to take this measurement here and come along the curve and go from the side seam and make sure that we're hitting the side seam. So I'm going to go ahead and hold my measurement there and then come around to the side. So that's 23 at the front. And then the back along the curve. We could do that when we flip the garment over. I'm just doing it here, that we have 21 7/8. And then the other thing that we have is the hem height. So the hem heights you always want to do at the back side because that's where all the fabric is. So we've got the back side here. We've got 1/4 inch for the hem height. The next thing we have here is the armhole straight. So we come up here, we want to make sure that our garment's flat. And we'll do the armhole straight. We're going to go from the top position here right down to this, and we just want to make sure that it's pushed up, that it's not pushed down like that. So here it is pushed up to where the front body pattern would actually look like, and we have 7 7/8. That is the armhole straight. Then we have the front armhole curve, which stops at the shoulder seam right here. So when you read what it says here, it goes along this curve, but it stops at the shoulder seam. So you want to make sure that you stop at that seam, which is right there. So this one is 9 3/8, the front armhole curve. And the back we'll do when we turn the garment over. Let's push this out of the way now so we move it so we can get the sleeve length. So our sleeve length now, just want to make sure our garment's straight still. The sleeve length goes from the top of the armhole here to the cuff seam. So that one is 21 3/4. The undersleeve or sleeve inseam is down here. Same thing, we're going to go from that underarm seam down to the cuff seam, 17. Then we have our bicep, which is 1 inch below the armhole right here. So become 1 inch below the armhole and then go across. Make sure we grab all the fabric and then it's flat. We have 7 1/2. We have the elbow, which is 7 inches below the armhole here. And these will vary depending on your tech packs where they're saying the position is coming from. In this one, it's 7 inches below and it's 6 3/8. Then we have our forearm, which is 11 inches below. So the forearm is down here. There's our 11. So we can come here and go across, make sure that the fabric is flat there. We had some bubbling in the back that would have made our measurement off. So it's perfectly flat. We're getting 5 7/8. Then we have the sleeve opening, which is right down here. You want to make sure your button is closed. So when the button's closed, my sleeve opening is 4. Then it says here the next one is the sleeve cuff width total at the join seam. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And this one's a little bit harder to do when the garment's sewn, so you're going to have to hold it to get the join, the total cuff width measurement, which is 9 3/8. The cuff height from the edge to the seam is 2 3/4. Now here it's asking for the sleeve placket height. This is a hidden sleeve placket right here, but you can see it when it's open. So the sleeve placket height is inside, and it's 3 1/4. The sleeve placket width, we can see, is, you're only going to be doing increments of 1/8 of an inch because this one is 5/16, so we're just going to leave it at 1/4. So now we have the wearer's right center front placket width. So you can see here that the garment opens on the right. So this placket width is 1 1/2. See there? 1 1/2. And then we have the wearer's right placket width. That's the right, so the left is here. The left is a lot smaller. It's 1 inch. The left placket width is 1 inch. Okay, and then we want the length of the placket as well. So the center front placket length from the collar stand seam joint right there all the way down. And that's 25 3/8. We want the the chest pocket placement here, or well, it's on both sides on this garment. So we're going to want the placement down from the HPS. So we take our measuring tape up to the HPS and come down. We can see that's 7 7/8. 7 7/8. We also want to know where is the pocket from the center. So the center is the middle of the placket right here. So from the middle of the placket over to the side, we have 1 3/4. Then we have our chest pocket height. We have to open the flap up to see the chest patch pocket. That's this. The height of the chest patch pocket is 4 5/8. We need the width across the top right up here. Here's the width across the top. We have 4 3/8. We have our chest pocket flap height right here at 2 1/8. We have the width across the top edge, which is up here at 4 5/8. You always want to make sure that's 1/8 of an inch on each side bigger than the patch so that you never end up with a pocket that shows like this. Okay, so the last measurement we have on this side is going to be the button separation. So let's go ahead and measure a few. This one's 3 3/4. That's 3 3/4. Okay, so there's 3 that are 3 3/4, so I'd say that's standard. Now we're going to flip the garment around and get some of those measurements that we didn't do on the back. So we again have to smooth out the garment. Make sure that we're up at the HPS position. I'm going to flatten out the chest and just make sure that the garment's nice and flat. Okay, so there's the chest flattened out and there's the back. So the first one that we needed to get was the neck width at the back. So the neck width you want to do from HPS to HPS position right there again. So you're going to go from there across to the HPS at 6 1/2. The next one that we needed to get was the across back that was 5 1/2 inches down. So 5 1/2 inches down and then across. From armhole seam to armhole seam is 16 3/8. We already got the collar point spread. We needed the back armhole along the curve. So that's going all the way along this. To the fold is 8 5/8. And then from 8 5/8 down to the other side is 9 3/8. Okay, and then the rest of this information is about the collar. So we're going to go ahead and open up our collar and our collar stand. Spread it out so we can get the last few measures. So here we want to know what the neck circumference is, which goes along the neck seam where the collar is joined to the body. So that's this one right here. And we really want to do it from the middle of the button to the buttonhole. So that one's 15. This is the one that goes on 15 1/4. This is the one that goes on the packaging that gives you the neck and usually the chest. So the next one that we want is the collar stand height right here. We can see it's 1 1/4. The collar stand circumference, which is going to be the join seam to the collar right here, from here to here. That's 14 1/2. The collar height at the center back is right here. That's 1 5/8. The collar length along the edge, this is along this outer edge, and this one we can do along the curve here. So that's 18. And then we want the collar length, which is right here. From the tip down to that little position there was 3 1/8. Okay, so I've got all my specs entered, and that's it on how to spec a ladies button front blouse. Thank you.